Welcome back to Geek Channel 8. I'm Eric.
I'm Will.
Today on the show, we're going to be talking about another silent proto horror film, Der Golem from 1920.
I'm eating this pastry that my neighbor made. It's just like infused with ginger, nice, beautiful layers. He made this for me for my birthday. It was super cool.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I am literally like the old neighbor next door. Like his kids made me stuff, and it's kind of awesome. So, I plant like berry bushes to feed the neighborhood kids. Fall basically is almost on us, so I'm like geeking out on my garden and like making plans for fall garden and in the spring and everything else. um this is what I do now. I mean, even when I'm playing D&D, I'm like, oh yeah, gotta play a druid.
So, joining us again this week is the director of such films as Gone with the Dead and music videos for goth and industrial bands like Angel Spit. She's also an avid equestrian and renowned sideshow performer under the name Kino Be Demented. We're welcoming back Kino McFarland.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us again. This film came out in 1920, so let me give you a background to the year leading up to the release of this film. Turbulent time. In November of 1919, November 11th, the Treaty of Versailles is ratified by the German National Assembly in Weimar, ending World War I for Germany. December 2nd of 1919, Canadian theater magnate Ambrose Small disappears from his Toronto office. His unsolved disappearance and the missing $1.7 million. Think of this, $1.7 million in 1919.
Holy crap.
In theater proceed sales become one of North America's most notorious theatrical mysteries. January 15th of 1920, German Foreign Minister Walter Simons presents the Weimar Republic's diplomatic position at the Paris Peace Conference. February 26th of 1920, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, directed by Robert Wein, premieres in German cinemas. It's a foundational work of German Expressionism, and it sort of shaped the visual language of the horror film. March 26th of 1920, F. Scott Fitzgerald's debut novel, This Side of Paradise, is published by Scribner's, becomes bestseller, and launches Fitzgerald as major voice of the post-war generation. April 13th of 1920, Vienna's Die Aktion, Aktion, not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, publishes a special issue on the uncanny and the supernatural, spotlighting writers whose expressionist and weird themes helped shape Central European horror aesthetics. May 26, 1920, Thomas Masaryk is formally approved as president of Czechoslovakia at the opening of the first elected parliament of the Czechoslovak Republic. June 4th, 1920, the League of Nations convenes its first assembly in Geneva, addressing post-war diplomacy, minority protections, and disputes shaping Central Europe. July 26th of 1920, the Boston Post publishes the first investigative report exposing Charles Ponzi's Securities Exchange Company, launching the scandal that coined the term Ponzi scheme and fueling sensational press coverage.
Oh man, some things never change, right?
August 16th, 1920, Cleveland Indians shortstop Ray Chapman is struck in the head by a pitch from Yankees pitcher Carl Mays at the Polo Grounds. Chapman dies the next day, the only player in Major League history killed by a pitch.
Oh my God.
Wait, that means that other ones might have been killed by other things on the
Other things, but by a pitch, this is the only guy.
Wow.
September 30th of 1920, Thomas A. Edison reveals in American Magazine that he's working on a device to communicate with the dead, saying, quote, "For my part, I am inclined to believe that our personality hereafter will be able to affect matter," unquote. October 29th of 1920, The Golem, or its full title, Der Golem wie in die Welt kam, I think is how you say it. Again, pronunciation's not our specialty on this show. It premieres at Ufa Palast am Zoo in Berlin. The full title in English is The Golem, How He Came into the World, and it's often just shortened to The Golem.
But why? This was actually a prequel for another film.
That was called The Golem. Yeah.
Which is lost.
It's a silent horror film. That's a leading example of early German Expressionism. Director Paul Wegener, who was not Jewish, co-directed the film with Karl Bose and co-wrote the script with Heinrich Gehlin, based on Gustav Mehring's 1915 novel. By the way, they were all Jewish. All the rest of them were Jewish. Wegener stars as the Golem, the clay figure of Jewish folklore, and the cinematographer Karl Freund later worked on the Universal horror films in Hollywood. In fact, he was the cinematographer of Dracula and the director of The Mummy. Golem, or How He Came to Be in the World, is the third of 3 films Wegener made featuring the Golem. The earlier 2 are The Golem in 1915 and a short comedy called The Golem and the Dancing Girl in 1917. And then the 1920 film is a prequel to the 1915 version, which he was never fully happy with. The 1915 version. He had to make too many production compromises in 1915. So his 1920 attempt was meant to more directly convey the legend as he heard it. He heard this legend when he was in Prague while filming an earlier film in 1913, The Student of Prague. So while he was there filming this film, he heard these Jewish folk tales and decided he was going to make a film about that. It took him a couple of years, but he did. The cast has Albert Steinruck as Rabbi Lowe, Paul Wegener as the Golem, Linda Salmonova as Miriam, Ernst Deutsch as Lowe's assistant, and Lothar Muthel as Squire Florian. It was one of the most successful German series produced during World War I. The Berlin premiere played to sold-out houses, and on October 29th, 1920, it started its run and ran for weeks. It first reached American audiences in 1921 at New York's Criterion Theater, where it ran for 16 consecutive weeks, and it proved to be the longest-running movie in the Criterion that year. And it spawned a short-lived Golem cult, basically a trend of Golem-related media and adaptations of the time.
Wow.
It's the only movie in Wegener's Golem trilogy that survived World War II. The other ones are lost. It was first restored in 1977 in Willem I's lifetime in Germany. Were you alive at the time, Kino?
Nope.
In 2000, a second restoration was carried out by Cineteca del Comune di Bologna at L'Immagine Ritrovata Laboratories. Sorry, Italians, I'm bad at pronouncing your language.
English too.
The version's based on an export print transferred at 20 frames per second, so it runs about 85 minutes, with the original tinting intact in an ensemble score by Alyosha Zimmerman. And that restoration's been restored to DVD in Germany and the UK and France and Spain, the US. But then a third fully digital restoration, this time based on the original domestic negative, was completed by Friedrich Wilhelm Murnau Foundation in 2017. It was given 3 unique scores and released on Blu-ray and DVD in Germany in 2019, and the UK in 2019, and released in the US in 2020. This is what I mean about how, like, you got to go back and rewatch some of these films sometimes because they're just new stuff. The film was first accompanied on release by a score from a German Jewish composer, Hans Landsberger. His original score was considered lost for decades until it was rediscovered in 2018. It was reconstructed and orchestrated, and the reconstruction premiered in Weimar in September of 2020. The New York Times 1921 review praised its exceptional acting and expressive settings and compared the settings to those in other early German Expressionist films like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Modern critics and historians continue to admire the film. Leonard Maltin gives the Golem 3.5 out of 4 stars, calling it a chilling, visually dazzling story of the supernatural based on a famous Jewish folktale of the 16th century and a classic of German Expressionist cinema. Maltin also noted the film was a forerunner to the 1931 adaptation of Frankenstein. British critic Leslie Hollowell awarded it 3 of 4 stars, saying, quote, "There were several versions of this story, but this is almost certainly the best. Its splendid sets, performances, and certain scenes all being clearly influential on later Hollywood films, especially Frankenstein," unquote. Dennis Schwartz rated it a B+, praising its powerful visuals. Schwartz wrote, quote, "A landmark of early German Expressionism. It is through the striking black and white German Expressionism photography of Karl Freund that the film displayed its unusual feel for the macabre and might be considered a precursor to the Frankenstein horror films and how horror films were to be made from now on," unquote. So in the years since its rediscovery, The Golem has been considered an early classic in horror cinema and one of the films to introduce the concept of the man-made monster. Rotten Tomatoes gives it an approval rating of 100% based on 30 reviews with an average rating of 7.85 out of 10. It's listed in 101 horror films you must see before you die. And I think that's basically it for the background.
Oh, the time is now, the time is here. Now's the time for a bite of cheer. A tasty light where the price is right. Well, look at here, you'll dig this sight. The moment's handy for a piece of candy. Just name your brand, they're all so grand. Hey, what do you think of a nice cool drink? Or a big box filled with a popcorn thrill? Let your taste buds meet with an ice cream treat. Refresh yourselves, it's time to eat. So come on, folks, let's join the band as we all head for the refreshment stand.
Okay, these are really old films. And then they were set even older, some of them. What I wanted to feel was the feeling of Europe before other influences. In a way, this is all about archetypes that were very European, Europe being varied in itself. But that all comes down to something very basic, which you would say, oh, well, that's just normal, and it's not exotic too, it's not new or different, but it actually is. It's transformed over time. Chicken soup. Chicken soup is a staple.
You do know that we have a vegetarian in the room, right?
Oh, okay, because actually,
Vegan, actually.
Oh, vegan. Okay.
we'll go that further. Okay, so but in all fairness, we're going to be talking a lot actually about the vegetables. Sometimes when you say chicken soup, well, yeah, you'd have rice or noodles. Well, no, that is not what we're looking at. Specifically, it was 14th century Prague. I'm looking at that, right? That's what inspired me. And actually, you can go look and find a good chicken soup, the recipe from 14th century, not from Prague. It's it's a Jewish chicken soup. But the problem is, and this is true across Europe, they almost always are going to include potatoes, which weren't there. They didn't have them yet. Okay, so you got to step back. Well, what would they have? And what did they have? You're still doing a thing where you're saying, what do we have? How can we make this last? What can we do to spread this out? And it's instead of before potatoes, of course, it was lots of things like greens, but grains, of course. To me, the basic recipe is going to be beans, okay, lentils, grains, barley in particular. You're going to have your meat. This is a slow cooked stew. The ideal meat, beg your pardon, but is goose. Goose was a common animal they used because the fat was so tasty and there was a lot of it. Just a side note, geese, primarily, they're grazers. They don't have to eat high value foods. They can eat grass and then turn that into something humans can eat. So honestly, a goose herd was a common job you give to a young person because they would raise a lot of geese. Obviously, today, goose is very expensive. You wouldn't want to do that. And I will give you an alternative in terms of if you wanted to do a vegan version. In my opinion, the tastiest way to do a vegan thing would be you're going to want to have onions in this anyway. Onions were something that were commonly available. You're going to want to have your garlic. Okay, those are already there. So the vegan version that would be best is if you can get Some date palm oil, because that's probably the tastiest vegan oil. You could use that. You probably already know, everybody on this already knows that date palm oil wrecks the environment that's made it. So let's take a step back from that, and we'll just say, maybe not do that. Okay, well, if you don't want to do that, there's always alternatives. I really like it would totally change the taste, but I really like a sesame seed oil. Okay, people think canola is a new oil. It's not. It's an old oil. It's been used for a long time. There are always alternatives. The only real spice I would say to add that is, specific, not salt, not pepper, not garlic, not onions, is turmeric. That really brings it out. It has a certain flavor and taste. If you're familiar with turmeric, it's a sort of a drying herb. It has a lot of what is that, like the same thing like as tea or coffee on the tongue, right? Or a really dry
Yeah,
one.
the tannins.
Yeah, but it does give you a sort of richness that you wouldn't have otherwise. Now, specifically, this is a soup that you would slow cook. So for me, I would start with the onions and the garlics and then some carrots, because those are available. I would start with all those things that are not dry ingredients, and I would fry them in the oil to start out with. And then in the bottom of my pan, after I've done that, I've got a nice fond or whatever, the dry ingredients get added with, hopefully, a broth. If you don't have broth, you'll be making one. You add your water and you let that cook slowly overnight, because the idea is you would make this the night before the Sabbath, and then on the next day it'll be ready and you can eat from that. And for the purposes of tying it in, and this is going to be some bullshit, I'm going to just lay it out there. No, the reason why I chose this is because it's an act of creation involving fire. You put these ingredients together and you transform it into something else that reflects the humanity inside and the emotions that you put into it.
Okay.
Them apples, huh? Yeah, pretty good.
All right.
You're welcome.
And I have one for this one. Sorry, this is vegetarian, as my wife is vegetarian, but it is not vegan, so you may have to make a couple of substitutions, Kino. I know that potatoes did not exist at the time of this, but I had to go with this because this is my favorite Jewish snack food. Oh, yeah. Potato pancakes. I asked every Jewish friend of mine to give me their potato pancake recipe, and I tried them all, and none of them were as good as my father-in-law's recipe, who he's not Jewish, but according to my wife, he must have gotten it from someone who was. Okay, so basically you want to get one of those cheese graters, the kind you can use a food processor. I use the kind that's like a little
a box grater
rectangle that you like set on the counter and scrape things up and down.
Cut your fingers off, yeah.
And you take 4 potatoes and you grate them on whatever that biggest size of the grater is, Yeah. Take 1 onion, do the same thing. And then this is the secret to this recipe. 1 carrot and do the same thing, like a big carrot. And then you take that, put it in a bowl, take 2 eggs and scramble them and pour that in the bowl. 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 4 tablespoons of flour, which is basically a 1/4 cup, and 2 tablespoons of milk. You just mix that all together, and then you form patties and deep fry them in oil. I use olive oil, but you can use whatever oil you want, and fry till golden brown. I freaking love potato pancakes. So that's what I had.
And now, on with the show.
After my successful experiment playing Joy Division for the last one, I was like, I'm going to do this again. And I know just what I'm going to do. I turned the sound off and I paired this with Bauhaus, because German Expressionism and the Bauhaus art school actually existed at this time. So I listened to the entire In the Flat Field album and Mask album. And I timed it to start when the title card says God in an Alcove. And I swear to God, this was my, what is it that stoners do? Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. This was that for me for this movie. It was so perfectly timed. Like the song God in an Alcove was perfectly timed to the creation of the Golem in an alcove in this. After the 2 Bauhaus albums ran out, I did Dead Can Dance because it's very medieval sounding. And I'm like, okay, Once again, my message to you, everyone listening, you do not have to use whatever soundtrack is on these. As we just talked about, they didn't find the soundtrack to the original soundtrack to this until 2018, right? So like, put on your own music if you'd rather listen to it. You know, I dig old music some of the time, but I really would rather listen to my own more modern music that I think fits the film. Okay. Just to start us off, I'll tell you a little bit about what's going on with this. The setup for this is it's in the Jewish ghetto of medieval Prague, and Rabbi Lowe, who is a real guy, he is the head of the city's Jewish community, and he reads in the stars a prediction of disaster for his people. And he informs the elders, and sure enough, the Holy Roman Emperor signs a decree ordering the Jews to leave the city before the new moon and sends Squire Florian to deliver it. So he starts beginning to devise a way to defend the Jews using Astaroth to awaken the Golem. He goes into a cellar and breaks open a sealed chamber, and there he sculpts the Golem out of clay. And upon arriving at the ghetto, this arrogant Florian he's attracted to Miriam, Lowe's daughter. And Lowe's assistant also is in love with her. So there's a love triangle right from the get-go here. Lowe persuades Florian to remind the emperor that he, Lowe, has predicted disasters and read the emperor's horoscopes and done these feats of magic for him. And based on that, he would like an audience with him. So basically, Florian flirts with Miriam and then leaves. Okay, so that's the setup. That's chapter 1 of this thing.
I really liked it. Like, I thought it looked really good. Did the Golem in the first part, did he become alive yet?
No, I don't think in the first part. No,
Okay.
bringing him alive was a big deal.
Yeah.
Because I have something I want to say about him coming alive later.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Okay, first of all, Florian, awesome. I hated that dude right away. I thought, what an arrogant prick. He didn't say any word. He's like throwing his hands about and like, yeah, I'm here to deliver your message, your doom, whatever. And like, oh, you want me to go visit with this guy? So fine, whatever. I don't know. I guess I'll indulge you. And I'm like, oh, what? I hate him so much. I loved it so much. I immediately love that actor. Here's the thing, like his assistant, who's also in love with her, he's like low key, like she's all like flirt. And he's like, your dad's right there, yo. Hey, chill out. Everything that they communicate without words is amazing. I love it so much.
Yeah. I want to say, first of all, the restoration on this is amazing. It looks really good.
So good.
But when Florian shows up, yeah, he's arrogant, but he's also like, you just can't stand, like, he's got the feather in his hat and he's wearing tights and he's just like so pretentious, and he has a white horse that's perfectly groomed, and well, I guess it's perfectly groomed. I don't know. I'll ask Kino about that, but
Close enough.
yeah, close enough. So automatically, before he even says anything, you're like, I hate this guy.
Yeah, oh, by the way, just an aside, a lot of times religious minorities, they may actually hold on to older styles, right? We see that like here in the United States, when people who've isolated themselves for a long time, they stick with the older styles, no buttons, etc., like that. But interestingly, the court of this, apparently their costumes are way out of date for when the time it was depicted. But it works for me, and I noticed it's like, man, he be showing off some leg. He got, you can see a little cheek. You get to see the calves. It's all about like, hey, check me out. Look how hot I am. Like I'm dazzling. And it really works. It gives a little feeling of decadence. So I don't know what they would have been wearing. I don't know why they made this choice, but it works for me because it's like, yeah, I feel like you're from this decadent court. And later on, you're like, oh yeah, y'all kind of deserve that, didn't you?
Prior to this, there might have been more of an attempt to make things look realistic the way that they would have been. But now with German Expressionism, this is an artistic movement where they're like, we're going to make conscious choices not to reflect reality. The sets are amazing, like of the buildings in the ghetto. The fact that they went through all that trouble to build that stuff. I mean, it is huge. You walk through it there. They ride horses through it. It is huge. Like the fact that they built all that in, 1920 for a movie, is just amazing.
Okay, so what it reminded me of the set, my wife was watching with me, and we were like, oh, wow. So Disney was like, that's what we're going to use for the Sorcerer's Apprentice, 100%.
I was thinking that too when I was watching it.
It's
Yep.
like, yes, make all the influences there. Like, this is why I love this, Eric. You bring me to these places where I'm like, oh, snap. You get to find out the original. And this is what I'm feeling like I get to with you. Like, the poster for this thing, the movie poster, features the buildings, and they're all twisted. They're like crazy, and it gives me super creeps. Okay, so this feels very, well, we'll get into it more, but like, man, if you were, this is very Cthulhu for me. It's very old gods, etc. Which is, you think a lot of times we're like, oh, that's separate from Judeo-Christian stuff, but it ain't. It's not here. No, not whatsoever. We'll get more into that. I found out more about this. One more thing, the novel that inspired this was even more wackadoo. So if you get a chance, I didn't read it, but it's like, oh, this is way experimental. The novel was way more experimental and less of a straight story, more meta than the movie.
Okay, so speaking of Cthulhu, the next chapter begins with the time has come, the stars align. Florian returns, and he has an encounter with Miriam. And I just want to point out for people who actually know the music that I'm listening to, the song by Bauhaus, Small Talk Stinks, came on right at this scene. This is what I mean about how, like, not only does the stars align, but the music aligned perfectly for me in this. So anyway, he presents Rabbi Lowe with an invitation for Lowe to attend the Rose Festival at the palace. And so Lowe reveals to his assistant that the golem has been created and asks for his help to animate it. So there's this elaborate magic ritual where Lowe and the assistant summon the spirit Astaroth, which sounds a hell of a lot like a Lovecraftian deity right there, but it's probably from the Bible or the Kabbalah, more likely. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, they compel him to say the magic word that'll bring life. And Lowe writes the word on paper, encloses it in an amulet, and inserts it into the golem's chest. And the golem awakens.
I just wanted to say, like, the makeup on him looked so amazing. Because, like, I was thinking about street performers and, like, the people who play as statues. And, like, he looked very much like that. And, like, but because he's made out of clay, like, you can, when his lips move, you could, like, see, like, the makeup just, like, detach a little bit. And it was so good.
It was good.
It was great. The whole magic sequence, I'm like, that's the way magic should be. Terrifying, almost kill, the assistant passes out. The old guy's hanging on for dear life. It's like, yeah, no, there's something you would never do unless you were desperate to survive. I'm like, that is awesome. When I think of like magic performed in, say, a Conan novel, that's what it's like. It's like, oh yeah, I could tame the demon, sort of, because it was really good. And as they did not have advanced like prosthetics, special effects, or whatever. The demon head, its mouth never moved, but it was freaking scary. It was awesome. I love it. I mean, there's so many things there. I'm like, oh man, I want that as a T-shirt. Oh wow, I want that. I'm like, it's very inspirational. For me, can't be a higher praise than like, I want to inhabit this world in a role-playing game. I'm like, this is really where fiction is really amazing for me. I'm like, and this is where I'm like, yeah, I would love to inhabit that. It was like, oh, we are here. Before I'm like, well, that hat's cool. This is neat. Oh, let's see what they're doing with this. Oh, now I'm like blown away. And they start from the very beginning. It feels dangerous. You're doing something you would only do because you had to. And then, well, we find out what happens next. But
well, what happens next, chapter 3, is Lowe he starts just giving the golem like household tasks, and it freaks Miriam out. Lowe brings the golem to the palace to impress the court at the Rose Festival. Florian slips away to meet Miriam. At the palace, the court is terrified and intrigued by the golem. The Emperor asks to see more supernatural feats, and Lowe projects a magic screen showing the history of the Jews. He's trying to get them to be more on his side, and he instructs the audience not to laugh or speak. The arrival of, I'm going to say it wrong, but Ahasuerus, the wandering Jew, prompted the court to laugh, and this causes the palace to crumble. And at Lowe's order, the golem props up the falling ceiling, saving the court. So in gratitude, the emperor pardons the Jews and allows them to stay. Okay. That's chapter 3.
All you guys had to do was be quiet. He's putting on his dog and pony show for you. He is literally performing. He's like, oh, this is wonderful, your little golem thing. What else can you do for me? And he's like, well, I already saved your life a couple times. Whatever. No, whatever. But if you just be quiet, you can't laugh or anything, but I'll show you this really cool thing. And then they can't help themselves. And they just, and then it's like, oh, hell no, we're going to smite you now. It's like, I love this. It's not even up to, the rabbi doesn't even have control over stopping that. He just brought the golem with him, so Golem can save them. But the golem wouldn't move from the door. They were trying to get out, and he's like, nope, I'm not moving. No one told me to move. And even before this, what's what I really love is he sends the golem out into the community to do chores and interact. And people are terrified. They are not like, hey, that's our guardian there. Look at that guy. They're like, what the hell is this thing? And he sends him to the store. The assistant goes with him to the store and says, and then it's like, oh no, don't worry. He's going to take my place. Just when he brings you a list, just give him what he wants and no one gets hurt. I'm like, and you see, I love this because you see where every time he's trying to command the golem, it is more, it's easy. It's has all this power. This is very important. When he commands the golem to do his job, which is to stoke the flames so that he can use the fire to do whatever mystic stuff he's doing.
This is where I was like Sorcerer's Apprentice. This has got Sorcerer's Apprentice written all over it.
He just, but he's one hand, the golem would take him 2 hands, and he won't stop. And so he's like, the flames are burning up and everything. And then what happens? The master comes back and puts a stop to it. But I'm like, wow. Okay, so we are seeing all the this is incredible power that can lead to bad things. You have to be careful with it. This is even before they go to the palace. But yeah, I love this whole thing where you're like, it's not like, oh, instantly he turns on you or anything like that. No, it's like, this is dangerous, and it feels great.
It's very much like our situation with AI right now, I kind of think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Creating something that you do not know what it's going to do,
Yeah, that's where we are right now. We don't know what's going to happen.
Definitely. I told you we would be talking about AI. It's there's a lot of AI stuff. There's the creator responsibility and hubris. In all these films, the scientists, the magicians or rabbis or whatever, they create life, but without seeing what the consequences are going to be of that. Nowadays, we have AI researchers and companies that build these systems with powerful capabilities that they themselves do not control or understand fully what they can do.
And we'll tell you that. They'll tell you, it's like, yeah, you should really put some regulations on us. What? Because we're not going to stop on our own. What do you we're not going to stop on our own, but you really should.
I make videos for doctors, and I was making one. They were talking about the ethics of AI in healthcare, and it's being deployed crazy fast in the healthcare profession. And it's like, what if it diagnoses something wrong or gets something wrong, right? Who's responsible at that point? Is it the doctor that used it? Or if it's mandated by the hospital, is it the hospital's administration? Maybe they don't even know what they deployed. They hired an outside consulting firm that said, okay, you should use this one. Are the consulting firm responsible? What if it's a problem that's in the code itself? And maybe the guy who coded it, had a bad day or didn't get enough sleep the night before and made a mistake in the coding. Is he responsible now? What if it kills 100 people?
Well, he just copy pasted it. So he actually didn't write it. He had an AI write it for him. So there's no not my fault.
The AI is writing itself now.
Oh my God.
It's crazy.
He's in the court, right? There's all these pretty ladies and stuff, and they immediately like to the Golem. He's called over. They're like, zoom. They all surround him, like, ooh, what's with you? And like one of them gives him a flower, and he's like, he smells it, and like his eyes widen. It's like an awakening. Okay, like I'm just saying, like what we'll have to figure out whether there's any of these stories where the reproductive impulse isn't key in there, like all the way deep based in there. But so far, every time.
That also brings up another issue of AI. You just said that it becomes aware and reproduction is like deep in there. And Kino just said, AI is writing itself. Well, what happens when AI becomes self-aware? Then can we turn it off? Like, or are you ending a life that way?
Well, it's already going rogue.
It's true.
It's already going rogue. Like, people try to turn it off, and it's like, I'm just gonna go over here, copy myself, and like do it all over again.
Yeah, no, I mean, 100%. Like, I'm going to program you to only say the things I want and not say the bad things, and they're still doing the things because the actual understanding of how it works is so minimal, they are not able to control it to do their evil bidding. It's like,
but if it becomes self-aware or whatever, is it morally wrong at that point to kill it?
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. I don't think that's going to be really an issue. I mean, we humans are like, I mean, what could be more acknowledging of its humanity than to
kill it?
Yep.
In chapter 4, Rabbi Lowe and the Golem return to the ghetto and spread the news that the Jews are saved. But slowly, Lowe begins to notice the erratic behavior of the Golem. And so after removing the amulet, Lowe reads that upcoming astrological movements will cause Astaroth to possess the Golem and attack its creators.
Always read all the instructions, bro.
So during the community celebrations, Rabbi Lowe's assistant goes to inform Miriam, but finds she's got Florian in her room with her. He's devastated. And so he then reanimates the Golem and orders it to remove Florian from the building. And then the way it rises up is just like Nosferatu. I know we're before Nosferatu now, but I'm sure they saw that and they're like, let's do that.
2 years.
So under Astaroth's influence, the Golem throws Florian from the roof, killing him. And the assistant and Miriam flee in horror. The Golem sets the building on fire. Miriam falls unconscious. By the way, the song Mask was playing by Bauhaus when I was watching this part. So again, if you know the lyrics to that, if you don't know the lyrics, go look it up. It fits like a glove. All right. Chapter 4. I'm going to start this time with Kino. Do you have anything to say about what's happened here now?
This was my favorite section of the film. It was very, very action oriented. I liked when the Golem smashed through the door though, because I thought it was very interesting that he pushed his arms through and then the door just like went with his arms.
Yeah.
Did you notice? It was like
yeah,
it was
that's
attached to his arms.
I think he punched it so hard that it came off its hinges, but also his arms went through the door too,
Okay. I just thought that was like very interesting. Like, part of it was like kind of comical, but I really liked that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have nothing to add to it.
I liked that too.
It was not clear to me. Miriam's like, well, wait till everybody's gone and then you can escape, because they were slept. Like, oh yeah, illicit lovers oversleeping, classic. But no, the assistant who has this thing for her, he's like, no, I'll wait for you. And then she's like, no, you really need to go. And then they're talking. He hears the voice. Now, it's ambiguous to me. Was he like really worried about her because, there's a man who came into the house and has her hostage, or what? I'm fine with the ambiguity. I like that. And he is horrified by the murder. He doesn't tell him to go kill that guy. my wife pointed out that, we both like, oh, that guy is a schmuck, Florian, but like, did he run away when he could have? No. He tried to fight this guy. He tried to fight the golem over and over again and, ended up cornered. He could have run. He could have outrun that guy. But like his first thing was to defend Miriam. And we see very early on, and, after he's thrown Florian away, the golem goes and grabs her, right? So it's like, okay, now we're seeing, first he's obeying the thing, but now we're seeing him obey these other impulses because it's always there. It's always there. I found the part where he is grabbing her by the hair and dragging her by the hair.
That's in the next chapter. Yeah.
That's crazy.
The whole monster in a burning building, we have that here. Now normally it's not the monster who's wielding the flames. All right. It's not. But like we can go back to the other episode we did where wielding flames against each other or a monster learning to wield, that's all like a thing. It's all the burning of the flames, hate to put it this way, but the Holocaust, these are like these themes. So kind of crazy. Loved it.
Let's just mention that the Holocaust, when we talk about nowadays, is World War II, which hasn't happened yet. And it certainly hadn't happened it happened in its own way in the time period that is being depicted here. So the final chapter of this, the assistant rushes to the synagogue to tell the praying Jews that shit's on fire. They arrive, the house is burning. The golem and Miriam are missing. The community begs Lo to save them from the rampaging golem, and he performs a spell that removes Astaroth from the golem. The golem is dragging Miriam by the hair, wandering around the ghetto, causing destruction. And when this happens, it leaves Miriam lying on a stone surface and heads toward the ghetto's gate. Lo finds Miriam and she awakens. They are reunited with Lo's assistant, who promises never to reveal her forbidden affair with Florian and asks for her forgiveness. Never mind, they're also never talking about the fact that they basically killed Florian. But anyway, at the gate, the golem breaks it open and sees a group of little girls playing, and they all flee except for one who he picks up. She's not afraid of him. This is also reminiscent of Frankenstein stuff that's going to happen in the future when we talk about that stuff. She offers him an apple. And she's curious, and she removes the amulet from the golem, and it drops her and collapses unconscious. And then the Jewish community gather at the gate to find the inert golem and rejoice and pray, and they carry it back into the ghetto. Film ends with a Star of David appearing on the screen. Okay. So that's kind of the whole deal here. This movie, more than any movie that we've seen so far, more than the actual Frankenstein adaptation, seems to shape what will become the cinematic Frankenstein we know. And we'll get into that in a future episode. But I want your ultimate reaction. What did you think of this movie? Does it hold up today? Is it still thrilling? Is it worth watching? Particularly for people who are interested in the horror genre and stuff like that. I'm gonna start with Will.
Okay, 100%. You see all these things, beautiful bones. But like it stands up on its own just fine. Okay, this really struck me. Teenagers who are illicit lovers who must pay the price, being pursued by a blank-faced, implacable killing machine. What the hell?
Yeah, sex, as we know.
Oh yeah.
This is like a founding trope of the genre, right?
I can't say I've ever seen it done any better.
So what does it say about us? What does it say about us that like we are constantly going against our own desires by like saying that if you do these things, you're gonna get killed. But also like we're creating these monsters who just have the urge to need love and everything. What does that say about us?
I don't know, but I love it. And what the?
We're messed up people.
Humans are flawed. Yes, definitely humans are flawed. I can say that much. So And I take it, Will, that's a thumbs up then.
It's 2 thumbs up. It's okay. So look, all the things that we see in here, he was about to smash the monster. And then they call him and it's like, no, we want to celebrate you. And they drag him away. All this, it's the kind of, human mistakes that have led to this. All of this is led from human, frailties, human stuff. None of this would have happened if they had left the Jews alone, that none of that would have happened. And there's all this stuff that's happening. Even Florian seeing wanting her and going to take her no matter like I'm going to do this. That is like some kind of message about like the plundering of cultures. It's all there. It's all beautiful and well done. They even apparently there's people who say, oh well, the kids were looking at the camera at the end. I'm like, I thought they did great with that, and they were singing on him and playing on him, and every moment I was like, no, they're gonna put it back in. They're gonna put the star back in, and eventually they just throw the star away. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like. All the things that this movie delivered in terms of engagement and me giving a crap about the characters and like all of that, the visuals, like the visual of the monster with burning brands in the middle of this fiery thing with her by her braids. I'm like, oh boy, that's burned in my brain forever. 10 out of 10, would recommend. Awesome, loved it.
Okay. I'm going to go next. I have watched this film many times. It's like a new movie every time I see it. And it, like I said in last episode, they're constantly discovering new stuff, restoring stuff. I would also give it a 10 out of 10. This is like one of my highest regarded silent films. It's up there with Nosferatu and Metropolis and, a few others, Cabin and Dr. Caligari. It is excellent. But I will say, if you think you've seen this film and you haven't seen it in the last 5 years, you have not seen this film because they've restored so much more to it. If you haven't watched it in the last 5 years, watch it. If you've never seen it, watch it. If you're into horror, particularly construct horror, basically your Frankenstein type mythos, see it. If you have any interest in sort of Lovecraftian cosmic horror, see it. If you have interest in Jewish mythology or folklore or legends of Central Europe, see it. I think any cinephile should probably see this film. Throwing it over to Kino.
I really liked this one. I think out of all 3 of them, this was my favorite. I've not seen it before, but I'm familiar with the folklore of the Golem. But it's definitely one of my favorites. I think one of my favorite parts, though, is that basically all the men and everyone keep trying to do all these things to save themselves, and yet they're saved by an innocent little girl.
I want to say, if you liked the show, please let 2 other people know about it. We only spread by word of mouth. I want to thank our guest, Kino McFarlane, for coming on. Kino, is there any irons in the fire you want to plug?
KinoBeDemented.com. Find where I'm going to be performing, and maybe I'll come to your town.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. So if you want to let us know your thoughts on this, you can always write us at GC8 podcast, letter G, letter C, number 8 podcast, all one word, at gmail.com. We have a Facebook group. You're welcome to join it. We talk stupid stuff and post memes. We are on other platforms. Like technically we have an Instagram. We're never there. You can probably find us in other places. I should mention we're also on YouTube. If you're into listening but not watching YouTube, I thought it was kind of silly since we don't use the video part of this, but I think we get more listeners on YouTube than we do anywhere else. So if you're into the show and you like YouTube, you can find us there too, Geek Channel 8. We're going to keep doing our deep dive into Frankenstein. Next week, we're going to watch probably the most famous Frankenstein movie of all time, James Whale's Universal horror film Frankenstein from the 1930s. Until next time, this is Eric.
This is Will.
And signing off. Well, keep in mind, just in case you don't know, we're doing Homunculus first, right?
I know, but this is I'm just gonna tell you great film.